Good evening, folks. I'm going to call the public hearing portion of our agenda to order. I've got 7:10. And the first order of business would be to elect a moderator for the public hearing. There's a nomination and a second. Are there any other nominations?
I'm sorry, who seconded?
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Just go over a few things, some sort of ground rules. First of all, I'd like to welcome you all here. This is the first opportunity we've had to have a town meeting in this building in about 2.5 years now. And it's nice to see your faces. We get used to watching each other over the television screen. Somehow it's not quite as personal. But I thank you for coming out. And how many do we have joining us? Present on Zoom?
21.
We have about 11 people also joining us on Zoom. The way this is going to work is that we're going to have a public hearing, and the items on your public hearing. This is your agenda, the yellow. Chris was kind enough to color code these, so if I'm switching back and forth or something, I can at least let you know where we are, what color we're on. And what we're going to be doing is taking up each of the items A through U that are on the agenda. And then there's a thumbnail description, which is the blue copy, which has a little more detail. It's a concise, very brief construction, not construction, but explanation of some of the things. I've asked some of the people to join us that have sort of spearheaded this regarding their individual departments or housing authority or whatever. And during the course of our discussions, I'm going to be asking them to come up when we get to those portions of the agenda for discussion, and ask them to give you a brief overview of how we got to where we are right now. And I'm going to start off by reading you the agenda and the legal notes. The electors and citizens qualified to vote in the town meeting in the town of Ashford, Connecticut are hereby notified and warned that a public informational hearing and special town meeting will be held on Monday, August 8th, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the lower level meeting room in the town office building and virtually via Zoom. The public informational hearing will be for the purpose of choosing a moderator and receiving comments on the following items. Thumbnail descriptions in blue of each of the units will also appear on the Ashford webpage, which they did effective, I'm advised, July 20th. All right, item 1, receive information on proposed appropriations utilizing the American Rescue Plan funds as follows. A, Pompey Hollow Park pickleball/tennis court repairs in amount not to exceed $25,000. B, Knowlton Hall installation of mini split heating/air conditioning units in an amount not to exceed $50,000. Excuse me, $90,000. C, Knowlton Hall installation of heat coils and stamped concrete paving of access areas to ensure safe access to the building in an amount not to exceed $40,000. D, DPW, Ashford Volunteer Fire Department, upgrade to state-supported mobile radio systems to provide interoperability. I say that 3 times now. Between state, town, and fire department agencies in amount not to exceed $80,000. Item E, Ashford Volunteer Fire, purchase of Hearst tool, Jaws of Life, in an amount not to exceed $16,500. Item F, Ashford Volunteer Fire Department, upgrade and installation of mini split heating air conditioning units in an amount not to exceed $30,000. Item G, Ashford Volunteer Fire Department replacement and or addition to the Ashford Volunteer Fire Department supply of emergency equipment in an amount not to exceed $11,500. Item H, Town Office Building, installation of handicap access mechanism to front door of building in an amount not to exceed $3,500. Item I, Town Office Building, interior, exterior lighting upgrades in an amount not to exceed $36,500. Item J, a 2023 school bus. The estimate we have received from our supplier is not to exceed $115,000. Item K, electric vehicle charging station in an amount not to exceed $20,000. Item L, DPW Ashford School gasoline dispenser in an amount not to exceed $17,000. And again, once we get to these individuals, we'll give you more of a breakdown on what they are and what they're for. Item N, DPW transfer station installation of fencing and gate in an amount not to exceed $14,000. Item N, Ashford Memorial Park installation of safety fencing and security fencing, although it doesn't say, in an amount not to exceed $8,500. Item O, Social Service Department appropriation for family support in an amount not to exceed $20,000. Item P, Northeastern Connecticut Council of Governments, ARPA reporting support. This is the fund we are on a long-term contract with them in the amount of $2,176. Next item is TextMyGov, again for contractual agreements, support platform, $3,000. Next item R is the Ashford Housing Authority rental subsidy, $25,100. Next item, Ashford Housing Authority Corp. Seed money for $20,000. Next item is broadband build out. This is on a couple of roads in town, and we'll go over that and elaborate a little more for an amount of $60,000. Last item U is development of bike lanes in the amount of $15,000. Following the discussion on the above funding request, the special town meeting will be called to order for the purpose of acting on: 1, choosing a moderator for said meetings; 2, approval of the allocation of ARPA funding. Items A to O in the above list will be voted on separately. Item 3, approval of the conveyance by the town of Ashford of the former roadbed of Grant Road to Paul E. Belanger and Pamela B. Belanger, trustees of the Paul E. Belanger Trust, and to accept the conveyance to the town of the current roadbed of Grant Road from Paul E. Belanger and Pamela B. Belanger, trustees of the Paul E. Belanger Trust, to reflect the prior relocation of said under road. That only happened about 50 years ago, but anyway. Item 4, approval of the allocation of $100,000 as recommended by the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen to represent a municipal match of funds to enhance the town's application for $500,000 in small town economic assessment program we refer to as a STEEP grant, funding for the reconstruction and paving of Southworth Drive. Thank you very much. Just a couple of things. As you know, we're trying something new out here, and it's called a hybrid meeting. And we have folks that are on Zoom, and we're using this new Pro unit that we've got for the first time. And what I'm advised is the Pro will pick up audible no matter where it is in the room and trying to focus on that. So we're going to ask, although we like to talk amongst ourselves sometimes, especially when things get boring. I'm going to ask you to limit your conversations to just those that are recognized that are speaking. If you do have comments or questions on any of these, we're going to ask you to come up to the podium again, so the owl can pick you up and those at home can hear you clearly. We're going to ask to try to, if you have questions or comments, limit those to 3 minutes. And of course, we'll be a little lax on that, but because we're probably facing a long night here. I have to make you conscious of that. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
Do we have the total amount available for the American Rescue Plan?
We do, and
Because you divided it down, but we don't know if that's all of that being applied.
it is not. I'll give you a brief breakdown. These are unaudited figures. But we were allotted $1,259,269.53 overall, and that's at the top of one of your sheets that you're looking at. To date, our expenditures prior to the final rule coming out, which was the last document coming out from the federal government, which kind of clarified some of the questions that we had on how we go about these appropriations. There was a lot of gray area because we were in the middle of the COVID situation, not knowing a lot of the aspects of it. The Board of Selectmen chose to take action through the Board of Selectmen and appropriate certain funds. Those funds were appropriated between 2020 and 2021. The total amount of those funds is $135,681.73. For this year, fiscal 2021-2022, extended to date is $897.50. That totals $1,122,690.30. What we are asking to be approved here tonight in the aggregate amount, which is I think what you're asking, what that amount is also, is $652,776. That will leave undesignated to date in the ARPA funding. Again, these are unaudited figures, $469,914.30. Sorry about the long answer, but
Thank you.
okay. Just to share one of my concerns and to be completely upfront with you. One of the things that we're facing as a Board of Selectmen and the town in general is that what we've tried to do over the past number of months is go out and get costing on the projects that we've listed in the thumbnail and that we're going to be bringing to you. What we've basically done is we've gotten 3 bids everywhere we can. And what we've chosen to do is the middle bid is the figure that you're seeing. Unfortunately, as we're talking, prices are going up on everything. So there's a possibility while we approve these funds right now, it's very possible by the time we actually come up with the date and signing contracts, we may have to come back to the town for supplemental approval. I'll give you an example. The new pathway or walkway that we're talking in front of Knowlton Hall. Last week, we were pricing out concrete and it was at $122 a yard. Before, that was on a Monday, late Monday. Before Friday, that unit rate by yard was $165. It's something that we're seeing almost on everything we're looking at. So we're making our best guess judgment on this based on documentation that has been submitted to us by proposals, but they could change and it could evident us having to come back asking for additional appropriations. Okay, we're gonna, are there any questions?
Can we ask a question if we're on Zoom?
You will be able to, yes. You have a question?
Well, I just was wondering what the process is. Should we just ask it? I mean, if you're,
Well, it depends what you're asking for, Janet. The one thing I'd ask, particularly for people on Zoom and in the audience, if you're gonna make comments or have a question, just identify yourself. We don't want your street address, but just identify yourself. We don't need your street number, but by street and of course town. Janet, go ahead if you have a general question.
no, I was just wondering what the process, thank you, Bill. I was just wondering what the process was for those of us on Zoom. Thank you.
We're not gonna forget about you. All right, we're going to go to the next phase. Roger, Catherine, did you have any comment or?
No, I'm just, other than I'm really glad that we're finally getting this in front of you. A number of you and others participated in a survey to gather your ideas, and that's pretty much everything that's being put out. The only thing that was kind of interesting is a number of people who thought we could use ARPA funds to mitigate tax increases. And according to the ARPA rules, you can't do that. So what this has become is, in a sense, it's a windfall for our town to be able to take care of some things that we haven't been able to take care of in the past and would have gone on as not being able to be taken care of as well. So I'm just delighted that we have everybody here and out there, and that people have actually brought some information into us.
We had just under 40 people respond to the survey. And as Catherine said, there were a number of things that we are looking at. But there are a number of things that we just couldn't cover under the ARPA funds. This final rule that I had referred to a little earlier kind of lightened things up, and they gave us a category called municipal services. And that kind of broadened our perspective on a number of things that you see on this list that we were able to address and bring forward to the town as being things that were covered under the ARPA funding. All right. I'm going to call our first item here is Pompey Hollow Park pickleball / tennis court repairs in the amount not to exceed $25,000. Sherry, you're going to lead the group first at hand. If you come up here and just give us an overview. Don't be bad. We know you're not bashful.
Good evening, everybody. As you know, my name is Sherry York and I'm the Ashford Park and Rec Director. And our pickleball court needs to be resurfaced. And so the quote that you see in front of you is to have it smoothed out and resurfaced and new pickleball lines put down on it. I don't know how many of you have tried your hand at pickleball yet, but it's a really fun sport and we have over 80 or 90 different people that have come and played in Ashford in the last couple of years since we've got it going. Does anybody have any specific questions in regards to it? The tennis court would stay. And we're looking to have 2 new pickleball courts lined out there.
One thing I've noticed, Sherry, it's very impressive how many participants you actually have. I mean, I've gone by there different afternoons and there's waiting lines.
Yes,
We've never had the luxury of seeing that there before.
We just had 9 people playing tonight, Bill, and I was told not last Sunday, but the Sunday before there were 17 people there on Sunday morning, so it's
So
going and it's
If they
fun.
play in this heat, they must love it.
They must.
Are there any questions from any of our Zoom observers? Okay, Sherry, thank you very much. Item B, Knowlton Hall installation of mini split heating and air conditioning units in the amount not to exceed $90,000. These units will enhance, Board of Selectmen contracted a company to come in and do a overall broad spec view of ventilation and air quality issues and calling some of the concerns that they may have to our attention. These units will enhance air quality in the building, as well as air conditioning and heating. Economically, they're also much more efficient. And we're comfortable that it'll be a major improvement to the building. Any questions or any comments anybody has regarding that?
Yes.
I'm one of the registered voters, and we hold our elections, our primaries, and the polling place. It's a very difficult place to hold the primary. If the weather is not right, like tomorrow will be extremely hot, the air conditioning is not strong enough to keep our poll workers cool. They're there from 5:15 in the morning until 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. So I would like to just say that I think that this is very important that we give the poll workers and all the people that go into the roll call for other purposes, a proper place to have the work.
Thanks, Lauren. Any other comments?
Bill, if I can add something.
Catherine?
When we had the assessment done on Knowlton, we also had assessments done on all of the town managed buildings. And also the fire department. So you'll see later on the list, you'll see something that refers to air conditioning and fire department as well. So it was all done as part of looking at all of our buildings to find out what air issues we had and what kinds of utility issues we have.
Hi,
Loretta?
Red Roll, Pumpkin Road. I just wanted to, do we know approximately how many would go into Knowlton Hall? Has that been decided or is?
We've got, and in fact, we've got bid packages and everything. We've had our building department review all of them. They think that they can put 2 units on both floors that will be adequate. Incidentally, these documents will be available in the selectman's office. If any of you have some extra reading time that you'd like to put in, you're welcome to go through them.
Bill, one quick question. Do they have to do any kind of going through the walls at all?
The biggest challenge, we brought in 3 different companies, Nutmeg, Stafford Mechanical and Fox Mechanical. And the biggest concerns they had was doing these installations, because of course, there's got to be outside units to back up the inside. They've got to go through 18 inches of stone. So that's a challenge in itself and also reflected, unfortunately, in the price.
There's some people on Zoom that look like they have questions.
Sure, if you're on Zoom, if you just speak up and identify yourself.
Mr. Avakoff, why don't you go first?
okay, thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone who seems to have put an incredible amount of effort into this. And I'd like to focus on something that affects several of the items here. So let me start off with the fact that inflation is not the only thing that's happening too quickly to keep track of. I have in front of me a summary of the Inflation Reduction Act passed yesterday by the Senate. And there are several items which suggest that anything having to do with climate change and energy security may well be covered by that. Now, I certainly have no objection, and in fact, I'm much in favor of putting in mini splits in Knowlton Hall. But shouldn't we try to check whether the funds that are much more targeted in the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, might be used? And let me just stick with the mini splits. They're much more efficient. I have them in my house and they're very effective, and they're much cheaper. So I'm very much in favor of them. Sorry.
It's an echo.
Okay.
Just working on it.
What I'm suggesting, is there some way that we can hold off on the actions until things are a little bit clearer, either by speaking to Representative Courtney's office or either of the senatorial offices, and have some idea of whether there are funds that can be more targeted? That's all. Thank you.
We are certainly tracking all of the potential funding that there is. However, these funds are in-house right now. And if other grants come up that can subsidize these or replace these, our board will certainly be bringing them both before the Board of Finance and ours. This is a situation where we've got to use these funds by the end of 2024. Getting contractors and everything else is in itself a challenge. And we're to a point where we've got to start being able to sign contracts, or these things are going to get delayed another year or two. And frankly, some of them, when we're talking about health issues, air quality issues, have a priority in that we would like to get them done sooner rather than later. However, we are cognizant of other grants and other acts that have been passed by Congress, and we'll certainly keep those on the horizon if we can take advantage of them to subsidize any of these ARPA funds and be able to use the ARPA funds in other ways. Anybody else on Zoom have any comment or question?
Yes, Bill, it's just a quick point on those people that are in attendance in the audience. When they have a question, it's very muffled. And again, I don't know if it's due to masks or if it's just due to the microphone, but if their questions could be repeated for those of us on Zoom, so we know what it is they're asking. It was just very muffled, all the questions received from the audience.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Any other questions or statements?
No.
Thank you. All right, item C, Knowlton Hall installation of heat coils and stamped concrete paving of the access to ensure safer access to the building in an amount not to exceed 40,000. John Zulik, who almost 30 years ago now, improved the handicap accessibility to that building. And those pavers have not been touched since. And besides the weeds growing up and everything, they're very on level. We stand serious injury if somebody takes a bad fall on there. Because of the on levelness during the winter, we're having ice collect and slip hazards and that sort of thing. So we think doing the new paving there with the heat coils will be a major life and safety issue that we think is important to address. Any questions or comments from anybody on that? Anybody on Zoom? Okay. Item D, DPW and Ashford Volunteer Fire, upgrade to state-approved mobile radio system to provide unified use between state, town, and fire department agencies in an amount not to exceed $80,000. Is Joe Kalinowski on Zoom? No? No, that's what we've seen. Paul, I guess we're gonna leave it to you. Could you come up and
say that. So for those who don't know me, I'm Paul Varga. I'm the fire chief as of June of this year. So there's a whole bunch of things on the list that involve me, so I'll start with the radio. The state supported system is called Connecticut Land Mobile Radio Network. What it does is it would allow interoperability, which as Bill said, say that 3 times fast. So currently, when I talk on the radio with the fire chief, it goes back to our dispatch center. If I need to talk to Joe Kalinowski, who's our road foreman, I have to either pick up my cell phone or have my dispatch center call him on the cell phone. Where this really comes into play is if we have a tree down or some kind of natural or weather emergency, where we're trying to open a road or notify school buses or other emergency vehicles. So this allows us to just turn a knob and I can talk directly to public works. It also increases our radio coverage. There's a couple people in the audience who used to be on the fire department. They know exactly what I'm talking about. There are still places in the town of Ashford and other places, if you know your cell phone doesn't work, it means my radio doesn't work. This, because the state is involved, what they're doing is pretty much every tower you see around will have some type of radio antenna on it that would allow us to connect to our dispatch center, and then consequently to other state agencies as well. So not just locally, but if there's an event that requires other departments to come into town, we can all operate on the same channel. We all have the same capability. Right now, we don't have that. For instance, if the city of Willimantic comes to the town of Ashford for some kind of support, some of you probably remember the fire at the hole in the wall. They don't all carry the same radio channel that we do right now. So that's what the interoperability part is. It allows me as the fire chief or any of my officers to talk with other income units, and then also talk to other people, public works, the school, the town office building, EMD, which is emergency management. So we don't have to keep picking up phones, and for those of you who remember how reliable cell phones are when the weather's been bad, and that's what it is. It's very technical. I just had a meeting a few days ago that was 3.5 hours, and even I got bored. But the simple part is that when I talk, I can talk to people without having to use multiple levels of myself. It all is all.
Thank you, Paul.
Can I just ask?
Sure. Yep. I was gonna say, Kaplan actually spearheaded the original quote, so.
I'm super excited about this. What I want, and I was asking the moderator, so I can speak. I just want to ask, are these radios going to be in the trucks or are they handheld? How do they work?
Both. So the goal is each apparatus, fire department, I can't speak for DPW, but each apparatus that each truck will have what we call a mobile radio mounted in the vehicle. And then the officers in the fire department, so the chief, the deputy chief, the assistant chief, the captain, the lieutenant, 2 captains, 2 lieutenants, would each have a portable radio that interconnects as well. That way, if I'm out of my vehicle at an incident scene, I don't have to run back to my vehicle or the other truck.
Is the Ashford ambulance part of the
Yes.
fire? Part it is, yes.
Does the emergency management director, will that person have one as well?
I believe that's the goal. But
Which
you
is
have
great
to
when we have a big
Well,
emergency.
and I mean, that is the idea. The
Yeah.
whole idea here is to get all of us on the same page, if you will. So if there's an incident that requires a large level of response or coordination, we can do that without having to rely on multiple forms of technology, which may or may not work. I guess, if you will, the beauty of this system is the state isn't good and bad, right? The state's involved, so they're the support service for this network. So it's not coming out of our funding directly or my dispatch center funding directly, which we fund by paying a service fee. The state carries the network, so to speak. And as Ms. Soderschmidt knows, the state has been asking people or towns and municipalities to get on the system so that we can talk to them as well. And that would also, we would have ability to speak with the state police directly without having to go through the big circle.
Just a couple of things. The state lent us some portable mobile units. And we had DPW and the fire department test them throughout town. And it was a remarkable improvement in communication. We still, I think, have one dead spot up in Squaw Hollow.
Well, yeah, basically the town line
And Troop C advises me there's even dark and black areas out there that they
it's
can't
actually on their list to address, so.
communication. You know, another thing I mentioned when Catherine first priced this out, probably a year ago, Catherine,
Just over here.
cost of those units themselves have already increased over 30%. So that's when we're talking about timeliness and things right now. Besides it, it's a life and safety issue for coordination between all our units. Time is of the essence too, because everything is just skyrocketing. One incident that I do remember this past winter was a good example, because we're also talking with the school about having a base unit up there, perhaps, and some sort of mobile units in either designated buses or some of them. But a large tree came down on Pumpkin Hill with a full busload of children in it. And the driver couldn't get out of that aspect. If she didn't happen to have her cell phone on her, it could have been a real problem up there in the middle of winter at terrible degrees. But this will alleviate at least some of those concerns regarding communication. Given if that person had the mobile unit that we're proposing, they could have been in contact not only with the school, but with the fire department directly and DPW. So, Judy, I saw your hand up, sorry.
Oh, yeah, I'm just curious, is there a maintenance fee for this in the long run?
So far, the state says no. That's all I can.
I just remind you just to speak up because apparently it's not coming up. Paul, I saw your hand. Is it-
No.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
My name, name is David Columbia. Question is, I think you brought up the dead spots in the range of these modern radios. Knowing our town is for pending. And these radios are all line of sight. So do we have like high towers and places in the reach?
So I'm gonna repeat the question for the Zoom people. The question is about the dead spots in line of sight. So that's actually the reason that the state has asked the municipalities to get on board, because they're the ones who are looking at those dead spots. As we've mentioned, the one spot that we have out on the Ashford town line in the hollow. The state knows about that and it's a targeted spot. Our dispatch center knows about that as a targeted spot. That allow it, but with all of the agencies being involved, now if we have a place where we find out is bad, we can let them know and they can work on that. It doesn't matter which radio system we use, we have dead spots. This has a 98% coverage, far better than what we have right now. I would guess, I think the last number I got from our dispatch center was 84%, but I'm not entirely positive with what we're using right now. Which is a system of a mobile radio to a tower with a repeater in it. So when I talk on my radio right now, most of the time it transmits to Pumpkin Hill. There's a tower on Pumpkin Hill. And then it transmits to our dispatch center. Same idea with this system, except it's far bigger. They have antennas on Pumpkin Hill. They have an antenna on the one down here on 74. And I'm sure, I don't know, I'm not the radio expert, I just talk on it.
Thanks, Paul. I saw a question over here.
No, this is Laura Bolton. I was gonna say any money that has to go toward public safety and either you guys do your jobs, I think that we as a town can support it. And all the things that you have listed there don't seem unreasonable. I just, in the interest of time, think that it's important and we should just vote to support it and let's move on and go through the list. I don't want to take away from.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll sit down, it's okay.
We'll be doing that,
Yeah.
if I may. I just want to clarify, the bus drivers will not have one of these radios. The people who have the radios will be in the fire department and public works. Primarily our emergency management director. I don't know if the first selectman has one, but
Yeah, I
basically, so there won't be in the
There-
buses.
There has been discussion of,
buying more,
excuse me,
No, that's not, yeah, there's discussion about it, but I'm
but
not.
that's not what this is.
the dollar amounts aren't in there, but there have been discussions for coordination purposes.
Right, I would think one.
Mobile units and some of the buses with a base unit. What I intend on doing, assuming this motion is going to pass, is I'm going to have a collective meeting with the fire department, public works, let the schools sit in, and just review all of the proposal. And J&S Radio, who we're assuming will be buying this from, has agreed to come down and give us an overview. So we'll have more information for you. Paul, I'm gonna let you stand right there. Next item is the purchase of a Hearst tool.
All right, so a Hearst tool, or Jaws of Life, is a mechanical tool that is used to basically cut up or open up a car or move a vehicle or any other obstacle that we have at an auto accident or emergency. Currently, the department does have a unit on our rescue truck. The quote in here is for what we refer to as an e-hydraulic tool. The sole purpose of this, originally we brought it to the capital improvements committee or capital committee for approval this spring in the budget. And they asked if we could put it on the ARPA funding. The purpose of this is to put an e-hydraulic tool, also known as a combi tool for us, on our ambulance. Anybody who paid attention lately realizes that volunteer numbers are dwindling, and it's hard to get people to show up during the day, especially if people have jobs outside of town. They can't just drop everything and come for an emergency. So this would enable the ambulance crew to have access to a tool, try to get quick access and get somebody out of a vehicle if we need to do that. It's not going to answer every single incident, unfortunately, but that's why we have other towns. We do have the other school on the other apparatus. What I thought here is that we have this available to us immediately when we get on scene, and we can do something right away if we need to.
Now, is this utilizing some of the cordless technology so that
It's
it's
100% cordless.
it's a lot more
Battery
portable?
power pack. It lasts 90 minutes. I've actually demoed 2 different units. They're pretty amazing, and they're far lighter and easier to use. Again, the guys and girls who are in the fire department and remember the old tools, and make 3 men and a horse. I can actually lift this tool up and operate it. One person can operate it. It's pretty amazing. The battery technology is pretty amazing. And that figure, it comes with the unit, the battery, 2 batteries, the charger, the whole, ready to go.
Are there any other questions? Anybody on Zoom with any questions, comments?
Bill, this is Sandy LeBrecq from Tremco Lane. I have
Hi.
a question in general for all of these items. Do we have, are all of the items that are being proposed within the amount of money that we have? If we vote for one, does that possibly push another one out? Or is there enough money for all of them?
There, you may have missed, I gave a brief summary.
I heard some of it, but it was.
All of the monies are in place to cover everything we're proposing right now, leaving a balance at the end for us still to decide on other priorities of $469,914. So we've got close to $500,000 left that we have not recommended so far.
Excellent. I know I heard you giving us some numbers, but my speakers weren't clear enough to hear all of what you said. So thank you for repeating that.
No problem at all. All right, Paul, you stay right where you are. Upgrade and installation of mini split units at the firehouse.
This just goes off of the Knowlton Hall, the study that Ms. Silversmith had done when she was first selectman. One of the things mentioned in the study was the mechanical ventilation at the fire department station 20 is lacking at best. We already have AC units in place. They are not split. They're the original units of that building. So one of the things that the study recommended was for better ventilation. They upgraded to a more efficient unit with a better filter that would provide better air movement, obviously. And also we upgraded the split would provide heat capability. So right now there are, it's confusing. We have 3 outdoor units. Each outdoor unit has 2 splits attached to it. That configuration would stay the same. They would just upgrade those units to newer, more efficient models that would also provide heat as well as AC, just like anybody who has a split now. Far more efficient. I was amazed how much more efficient they are.
Any questions or comments? Anybody on Zoom?
Yeah, again, things have changed. I mean, gone are the days of the volunteers where we have crews that are in the building all day.
Okay, we're gonna move on to item G, replacement and or addition to the Ashford Volunteer Fire Department supply of emergency equipment in the amount not to exceed $11,500.
So this one came about during the COVID pandemic. Something that we ran into was we would have to take the ambulance out of service after we transported some of the patients because of the COVID pandemic. To clean and disinfect it. We can clean the inside of the box relatively easy, but the equipment is storage. Some of it takes several hours to get wiped down and dried off. Some of it can be exposed to some of the harsh chemicals, so that's to be treated a little bit differently. So we tasked ourselves with going through all the, what we call durable medical equipment, anything that we would use on a regular basis. For instance, straps on the stretcher, a mattress on the stretcher, a blood pressure cuff, a stethoscope, an oxygen bottle, a regulator. And I know that when people think about that, you don't think about how does that affect, but if somebody's in the ambulance that has a communicable disease, I don't want to be passing on to the next person, so I have to remove that from service and clean. So this would, I know it says upgrade, doesn't say add, there's no addition, it's just basically we're putting things in place so that I would not have to take that ambulance out of service for any length of time other than to swap the equipment out like this type of firehouse. So it would give us the ability to change things out and be back and ready to go.
Thanks. Thanks, Mark. Any questions regarding that? Anybody on Zoom with any questions? All right, Paul, I think you can be relieved. Thank you very much. Thanks to all you and your staff and all our volunteers for the hard work. Item H, town office building installation of a handicap access mechanism at the front door of the building in the amount not to exceed $3,500. Most of you, I don't know if you utilize it or not, we do have automatic doors here at the back, one door. For budgetary reasons, when we were in construction on the building originally, this was one of the things that was passed over. Because we did meet the ADA code, putting the unit in the back, but we're highly recommending to upgrade the front door here for those that are needed utilizing. Any comments or questions on that?
I have a question.
Sure.
So does this include doing anything else but the installation on the front door, which I think is a great idea? Is there any changes to any pathways up to it or anything like that that we're looking at as well?
Not at this time.
Okay.
We do meet code. I had that when we had the folks come out and give us a price. We meet code on all those aspects. But certainly, you know, I'm a big proponent of these heating elements in public areas of traffic and everything. I would think down the road in a couple of years, as that concrete out there starts to deteriorate or whatever, that's the sort of thing that probably we want to look at for this building.
Yeah, I'm amazed that it's only $3,500 to do that to the door. Wonderful.
Maybe they made a mistake. I'm not gonna call them. Next item is town office building, interior, exterior lighting upgrades in an amount not to exceed $36,500. That's to improve the lighting. And obviously both interior and exterior. I can't tell you how many complaints I've got about the lighting in this room since we installed and built the building, but this will also help with our electric bills. And Loretta could probably address some of the happiness that they had with the sustainability for us upgrading all of the interior lighting and exterior lighting. But any comment, Loretta? Or?
No, I just think it's a great thing.
I thought you would. Any questions or comments? Anybody here?
I have a comment. Yeah, I just would like to make sure that you're considering dark skies with any decision on external lighting so that we keep our dark skies here in Northeast Connecticut.
Yeah, that was addressed when we, and it will continue to be addressed, I assure you. But even when we installed the existing lights here, I think we were probably one of the first proponents of putting in the dark sky concerns.
Excellent, thank you.
And Bill, this is me. if I may, is this being done in conjunction with Eversource to get
Yes, it is.
rebates
Yes,
on it? And they also look at dark skies to
Yeah.
make sure things are planned out.
It's also in our, you know,
okay, item J is the amount to be appropriated, again, because it is considered a municipal service. But to appropriate an amount not to exceed 115,000 for a school bus, which is in this year's budget. Any
Bill,
questions?
Bill, can I, Bill Abakoff. Specifically, as a follow-up before, the IRA has a line item for clean heavy-duty vehicles like school and transit buses and garbage trucks, and I assume other kinds of road equipment. One should keep this in mind.
We are, in fact, there are some grants that have been brought to our attention and we're going to be looking at, we're going to be talking to the Board of Finance and getting input from all our boards. I know there are proponents of the electric buses up at the school that are quite active, but what we want to do, Bill, is we're going to look at the long-term impact and cost on that. Our Board of Selectmen will be discussing that real soon. And of course, bringing it to the Board of Finance for their input. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, item K on page 2 here is electric vehicle charging station and the amount not to exceed 20,000. There, the 20,000 is actually for the infrastructure for that unit. And we're also monitoring ongoing grants that are available through Eversource and several other grants right now in conjunction with a couple of other new federal grants. The unit itself would be paid for totally through a grant. So the 20,000 here is for installation and infrastructure of that. What we're talking about is the installation of one unit here at Town Office Building out in front, probably somewhere in the facility where the charging unit for your cell phones and that is. That's something else I think that makes Loretta happy. Yes, sir.
Yes, who is available to use these charging stations?
They'll be open to the public.
How many items on this thing?
One, from what I understand right now, and it's still in the planning stage, but it'd be one unit to the unit itself.
With the fact that electrical vehicles are going to become more and more needed, just having one in the town seems to be not enough.
Well, I don't mean to be a wise guy, but you gotta start somewhere. You had a question?
How many EVs are in the town of Ashford now?
There are none anywhere, both in, as far as I'm aware of, none either on any of the town properties or any of our commercial properties.
Now, have you talked to like Farmland Farms or Extra Mart or some of the businesses in this town that they could?
I have not talked to them personally, but I understand that Eversource is also considering funding for them too. We would certainly encourage them to take advantage of it. Paul?
Bill, just a question. The 20,000 covers the installation and the unit itself is going to be grant funded. Who's paying for the electricity when somebody plugs in? I don't have an EV, so I have no idea how it works.
Yeah. My understanding, it would be user costs. So that there would be a fee for a recharge. A lot of them I know that were put into state properties. When I was doing facilities and we had new facilities, we were installing them. The state was picking up the costs. Both for all of the users. But Catherine?
Would this infrastructure setup be done in a way that it could be added to in the future, should we decide to put 2 or 3 there?
That's my understanding. The engineering would be done to accommodate future growth. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, Bill, hi, Jeff Silversmith. similar to along with a lot of the others have stated too, with having a single unit being kind of selling us short in the long run. If this is where things are going and we're identifying the fact that the EV vehicles are present or will become more and more present, we should probably do everything we can. And again, Catherine had the question of installation being done for being able to be taking care of multiple vehicles. And I just want to be clear that you're saying the actual station itself would be coming through on a grant. And would we be able to get 2 through that grant, or would it behoove us to get 1 through these ARPA funds since it's an allowable situation?
My understanding is right now the grant is just for a single unit, but that's certainly something we'll be taking a closer look at, Jeff.
Okay, so again, I'm just wondering if we can get it through the ARPA funds also and get a second unit with the grant. I hate seeing us, I'm kind of echoing what other people have said in that, you know, to limit us to 1 when we have the opportunity to put 2 in there just allows for growth, just allows for people to use it more, gets allows for access to the public. That's all. Thank you.
If I could make one more comment.
Catherine?
Not to counter with Jeff, but once 1 is put in, then we'll see what the usage actually is and see as time goes on, whether we want to put another one there. We'll also be able to find out if some of the other locations in town, the gas stations, whatever, are going to put any in. So at least having an infrastructure that's put in place that can be added to relatively easy would be a good thing.
Yes, sir.
You also plug them into your home too.
I'm sorry, couldn't hear you.
You can plug them into your home too.
Yeah.
Right.
So. You may not need it.
You know, we're kind of trying to take the initiative on this and I have not, I don't know if you would got any, I have not got a single complaint about not having a facility on any of our town facilities, the recharge unit. I'm sure there's electric cars in the town, but.
Yeah, I did because it was someone with an electric car in the town. I actually think about people passing through here. That this is a fairly main thoroughfare to get to the Cape, et cetera. And as these cars become more prevalent, it's just.
Yeah, there's 3 different levels of these charging units. I've done a little study of them. And, you know, one of them takes 8 to 10 hours to charge a typical vehicle. The middle one is I think 2 to 3 hours. And then the supercharger, which costs about 3 times the one that we're talking about, takes like 15 minutes. But that's done on a 440 volt, and it's quite extensive for the infrastructure of that.
So Bill, is what you're saying that our best scenario is that someone charging their vehicle there is going to take 2 to 3 hours?
Yes.
Good enough.
And I don't know, I just try to keep in mind, this is a growing industry and it's fine tuning itself. My guess is in a year or 2 from now, we're gonna be looking at totally different hookups. As things mature. Okay,
Bill,
next item is,
Bill?
Yes.
Can the infrastructure for this charging station be put in such a way that it would be less expensive to retrofit and go to the 440 or some new technology?
we'll certainly keep that in mind. I don't know. That would certainly make sense.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, DPW Ashford School Gasoline Dispenser in the amount not to exceed 17,000. Right now, in order for, and we just bought a new truck this year with ARPA funds incidentally. That's gas operated. Our pickup trucks are gas operated. All the vans up at the school are gas. We have to go to a private source to fill up those vehicles. This would give us the luxury. I don't, Paul, do you have any vehicles that are on gas at the?
Vehicles, no, but equipment, yes.
Okay. We have to either go up to Four Corners or go to Cumberland or Extra Mart, obviously pay retail prices and that. we had a situation where we had bad storms and one of our pickup trucks, actually it was our foreman's truck, was almost out of gas. It was after 11 o'clock at night. He actually had to go up to the truck stop off of 84 in order to fill up. It's not only a convenience, but I look at it as a safety benefit for us to have that facility up at our at our highway garage. So it's something I think is important for us. Are there any questions or comments? Anybody on Zoom? Thank you. Oh,
Wasn't this in the budget?
I can't hear you, Judy. I'm sorry.
Was it, Judy, wasn't this in the budget?
No. It was withdrawn from the budget to hopefully cover with our funds.
And when you're, Bill, when you're referring to the budget, you're referring to the capital improvement plan, not the budget per se.
The capital improvement plan, but also I guess in the budget in general, it's not that either. It came before capital improvement.
I just know we talked about it when we were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, it was one of the things that we coming in. Okay, next item M, transfer station installation of fencing and gate in an amount not to exceed 14,000. I don't know if any of you have noticed, but the gate and the fencing at the transfer station is in a bad state of deterioration and everything. And what we'd like to do is put in a gate similar to that rolling gate that's at the highway department right now. And it's something that we think is important, not only for safety, but also for security. Any questions on that?
Excuse me,
Yes,
what is the circumference, or where is this fencing? Is it around the whole thing, or is it?
no,
just at the gate?
it's at the gate, the front area.
Thank you.
All right, Ashford Memorial Park, installation of safety fencing in the amount not to exceed $8,500. This is, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Ashford Memorial Park, but this is not only for traffic direction, and that it's also for safety. We've got some cars that are on a bank that's got a steep incline. One instance, we had a car go over that. We have kids using that as jumps for their quads and everything. So we feel it's a safety as well as a directional thing. It's a safety need up there, so we're recommending that. Yes, sir.
What fence is the gate or?
No, this is beyond that, near the pavilion. In that area, it'd be enhancing that fencing down there.
Bill, on that one, does this also include putting in the concrete posts that will prevent people from driving out onto our fields?
Yes.
Because we've had our fields torn up by, I don't know, ruffians going out there
Wheels, quads.
doing donuts out there.
Yeah.
Our baseball fields. So, but this will be included in that, correct?
The type of fencing is going to be like bollards.
Excellent.
All right, next item, Social Service Department appropriation of family support in the amount not to exceed 20,000. We appropriated 20,000 on the ARPA last year. And that money has been used for rental assistance, food help, and various other social service sort of things. And we've pretty much dilapidated that original 20. So this is an additional 20,000. It's been requested by our social service department. Given the economic situation things are in right now, I think it's vital that we support that. Is there any questions regarding that? Anybody on Zoom with any questions? I don't mean to be ignoring it. Thank you. These other things, well, the next two anyway, the Northeastern Connecticut Council of Governments, ARPA reporting support. These amounts, we've signed long-term contracts for ARPA funding management and assistance with that. This money is for that. So we're already contractually committed to that. We feel that it's real benefit to us that ARPA has allowed us to actually, put money towards that. The next sort of thing is also text my gov. I will tell you, if you're not a member, or if you're not signed up on that, please pay attention to the citizen and do so. We're trying to increase the numbers. We're able to give you, townwide alerts on different things like this meeting, like opening up heating centers, like if a road is closed, or been given notice either by the health department for specific things, or there's a variety of things. That's one of our biggest problems in this town over the years has been communication. You know, the Chronicle has less than a 300 circulation in this town. The Current, I don't know if they even know Ashford exists, unless we have an accident on 84 or something, but it's one of those tools that we're trying to take advantage of, that I would encourage you to try to sign up for. But I also think it's a good value to the town on what we're paying. Any question on either one of those items?
Thank you for mentioning it. It's Bill.
Thanks. Thank you.
Gentleman's back.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You said text. Not everybody has a smartphone.
Yeah.
Can it be done on a computer?
Yes,
It can. Okay.
yes, it can. We also tied in with our website. So typically if something's on the text my gov, it's done at the same time on our website. All right. I guess the housing authority is up. Thank you for your patience. Let's get you just introduce yourself. I know you know a lot of people in the audience here.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jessica Miller. I am the director at the Ashford Housing Authority. And we have two proposals tonight. The first one is rental subsidy in the amount of $25,100. Ashford Housing Authority is partially funded through the Elderly Rental Assistance Program. That program is administered by the Department of Housing. That program was closed. And so now, when tenants move in, there is no rental subsidy available. So anyone moving in has to pay the base rent or higher. And so what this has caused over the past few years is every time we raise the rent, which we do usually every year, every other year, so their rent continues to go up and they don't get any rental assistance. So we have a group of people over at the Housing Authority that pay more than 30% of their monthly income. And if you pay over 30% of your monthly income, the Department of Housing and HUD consider that to be cost burden. And these group of tenants have been cost burden for many years. So when this became available, we thought this would be a great opportunity to help out those people who have never been able to get that rental assistance that they need. So what we're asking is to fund this program, the rental subsidies for 2 years. And then during that time, Ashford Housing will continue to work. And what our plan is to have a permanent rental subsidy available for those who aren't in the program, but still need it. And we're gonna do that by creating another nonprofit that will do fundraising specifically to help raise those funds to make the rental assistance available to anyone who needs it in the building. Is there any questions about that one? Yes.
I'm just curious, is there an upper limit to the rent to which you subsidize people? If I have a $5,000, my voice is gone, $5,000 a month rent.
Yeah.
And which is more than 30% of my income. Would I qualify?
Okay, well, there's limits or income limits to live in the building. Yes, there are. Yes, so we've actually done several different things to help generate more revenue for us without having to impact the tenants directly, because we have very few options to actually increase our revenue to continue to maintain and operate the building other than raise the rent. And that's really not an efficient way to do it. And has a very direct impact on a group of tenants. And so we're really trying to alleviate this hardship for them. And while we're continuing to maintain this building and this program.
Are there any other questions? Any questions on Zoom? No?
Okay, the second one is, we're asking for $20,000 for seed money. We are creating a nonprofit right now. It will be an affiliate of the Housing Authority. The mission of this nonprofit, and the name of it is Ashford Housing Development Corporation. It'll be a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and its mission is to preserve the Pompey Hollow Senior Housing, which is right across the street, and also to expand affordable housing in Ashford. So the seed money that we're asking for will cover the all of the fees associated with creating the nonprofit. And also initially, so with the two main goals is to preserve the Pompey Hollow. And we're going to do that with by going for a major rehab of the building, which it desperately needs. So any pre-development funds, costs, that's what we're looking to use the remaining of the money for, to hire a consultant and to get going on the construction and the rehab of the building. And then down the road farther, we will look into maybe whether it's new construction or whatever, just expanding affordable housing in Ashford.
Are there any questions, comments? Anybody on Zoom?
Yeah, Bill, Jeff Silversmith. Jessica, do you think that with the importance of affordable housing in the planning and zoning community, do you feel that the funds there are adequate for giving you any type of traction for either development, expanding, or identifying affordable housing?
I see you're talking about the seed money.
Actually, I'm talking about the, yes, I'm sorry, I'm talking about the seed money, the development. After you've worked on Pompey Hollow for preserving it, repairing and all of that, do you think that the 20,000 or what's left of the 20,000 is adequate to
Honestly, probably
corporation
not.
development?
Yeah, probably not, but it will significantly help. Because in order to do the major rehab at the building, the whole process has become very competitive. It's very extensive, complicated. We would need to hire a consultant. And so I'm just hoping that whatever's remaining, we can at least hire a consultant as a first step to move forward into the rehab. I guess I was just, I didn't want to over ask.
No, I appreciate that. And I can fully understand that. But again, with the fact that this is not a tax burden for the town where these funds are coming from, and Bill has identified the fact that there are additional funds that are not addressed. Nothing is being squeezed out if something does or does not get approved tonight. And again, just being on planning and zoning and dealing with the affordable housing issue, that is very important in the state. As fact that Ashford is less than 4% with a goal of 10%, without developers knocking down our doors to put in affordable housing or anything like that to get up to some of the state requirements and some of the state allowable, what's the word I'm looking for, relief if we hit that 10% for plans and things like that. I would ask the selectmen to possibly look at additional funds for that seed money to allow for the consultants and allow for potential development, further development when it comes to affordable housing.
I would be willing to, come back with a better number, with more details at a later date, if that's something that would be agreeable to.
We're open to suggestions. The matter at hand right now is the money that we're allowed. So.
Yeah.
Catherine, you have?
It's funny, Jeff and I didn't talk about this, but I was going to ask pretty much the same question. If you're doing rehab, that's a good chunk of money.
Yes.
I would
yeah.
expect.
Mhm.
And then to hire a consultant, that's not cheap. And then to actually do something based upon what the consultant says.
Right.
It seems like the $20,000 is too short an amount.
Well, I'm looking at just hiring the consultant. Ultimately,
Okay.
most pre-development costs are eventually funded by the state. So eventually, we will get all of that money back. We need to actually have money to start the whole process. So just to hire the consultant, just to get it started. And so then we can apply for the pre-development funds. And those pre-development funds will ultimately cover everything that we need to apply for the funds to get the rehab. So, yeah, I think this isn't too far off of what we're gonna need. Ultimately, it's gonna go to a consultant or a development firm to help us navigate through this process.
Thank you. Sounds like a good plan.
Are there any, Loretta?
Can I just add that I think this is amazing that you're doing that and other towns of our size are not on the cutting edge of this as you are. So I heartily support that. And I think the town can really get a feather in their cap by being on board with it.
Any other questions for Jessica? Hearing none? Oh,
Yeah, not a question, but just in furtherance of what Jeff said, Dennis Quaker Smith Road, also chairman of the senior housing. We have been struggling for several years with funding for repairs and project that's older. And the 501c3 is going to be a major thing to help us find additional outside funding that we cannot get. We simply cannot get.
Right.
So it's critical for that. We will take all the money.
That's right. That's a very good point. Without the 501c3.
Just being a little conservative.
Yeah.
we appreciate that.
Yeah, that's right, though. Dennis makes a very good point. Without the 501c3, we cannot apply for these grants that we desperately need to do the major rehab. So this is critical to our continued success.
Seed money. for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next to last item here. Broadband build out, $60,000. Primarily, there was a study done. And primarily, this is to address residents that are on Waterfall Road and Lips Road. That cannot receive a broadband. And my understanding is, and these funds are going to be subsidized. But what the company is going to do is be running lines down both of those roads. And then the residents of those roads will have the ability to connect up until to the master lines. And as you know, there's a push on nationwide to enhance broadband, and our board has been supporting this for several years now, continue to support it, but it's much needed. Catherine?
The only thing I would like to add is that the ARPA funds themselves, there's 4 major categories for use of ARPA funds, plus what we've learned about being able to use them to offset some municipal deficits. If you will. And one of them is broadband coverage, because it's clear that the upload and download speeds are not adequate to support people who are, working from home, kids that are going to school from home. And we did do quite an extensive study working with Spectrum to find out where the gaps were in the roads. I wanted to commend Chris Abacoff for working closely with Spectrum to help us identify where those areas were. And there are definitely people who have been trying to get Spectrum and have been told that they can't. We actually conducted a little test, and I had 2 of the people that talked to me about it contact Spectrum again. And they said it was basically they either couldn't get it in or it was going to be exorbitant. And as a result of a number of negotiation sessions, at least I think 6 or 7, we managed to get things honed down so that we could cut a really good deal with them on this. And again, it's one of the major categories that's in ARPA funding requirements.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, Bill?
Yes, sir.
Bill Abakoff. Broadband means a lot of different things, and I'd like to compliment you. This is the first Zoom call that I've had that actually hasn't gotten cut off because the service really stinks, even where we have broadband. And I've noticed that in South Windsor, they're installing fiber to homes. And I think that we have to examine what the future really means in terms of people working at home and trying to function in a changing economy. So I would like to suggest that the broadband build out be expanded in its notion. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Any other comments? Hearing none, the last item here on the agenda is the development of bike lanes. And primarily the money that we've shown here, we've got an advocate of bike lanes, but bicycles in particular, has been an advocate for as many years as I've been in town and known North. Right now, I know that I co-signed a letter with Norb to Congressman Courtney earlier in the year, asking him to support bike lanes between Mansfield, Ashford, and Union. And the bulk of those are on state highways, which of course we can't address with any funding. The funding that we propose primarily for engineering to take a look at, if federal funding becomes available for state highways, would be for Westford Hill Road, which would connect both ends of 89. And that's what we're looking at. Norb, did you want to have any brief comments?
Sure. I'll keep this short. My name is Nord Yakovlev. I'm a bicycle advocate, and the advantages of bicycle riding are well known. And I work with youth in this town, co-ed and scout youth, to encourage bicycle riding both for transportation and recreational use. Both of those uses are important. And I work with Troy Hopkins, the principal of Ashford School, to get the Board of Ed and the school to allow students to ride their bicycles to school. And it's currently, they are allowed to ride their bicycles to school. This was forbidden in the past. So I think that this country is behind in bicycle riding. Other countries are ahead of us, especially the Netherlands, China, England, a lot of places they ride bicycles for transportation, and the advantages of that are well known. We're way behind in that, and getting them started as youth is a good thing. And I think that I'd like to see some bike lanes up by the school, make that students riding to school safer. I would like to see that, but that's a state highway. We don't have any say about that unless we go to the state. Okay, that's where I'm coming from.
Thanks, Norb. Are there any questions?
Yes.
That's right.
Nord, how many kids are riding their bikes to school?
I don't know. Well, it's summer vacation right now.
I mean, after getting the approval.
There were three.
Three,
That was the first year.
okay.
The first year that they were allowed, there were three.
And how long ago were they allowed?
Last year, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's. I'm not sure about the dates. But
Yeah. And if I understand correctly, we've had our Public Works foreman take a look at this particular one on Westford Hill Road.
Yes.
Okay, and the changes that would be made would be what?
There would be 2 feet addition on either side, from what I understand. And it would be within our right of way.
On each, you said on either side, both sides?
My understanding. I have not seen any technical engineering on it yet. The 15,000 a basis that we thought would get us to doing some engineering if we got to that next stage.
Okay, so the 15,000 is for the engineering or for the actual?
That's my understanding. The
Okay,
engineering.
thank you. And the other thing I just wanted to mention in passing is I did, after seeing this on the list, I did go and drive Westford Hill Road, trying to do it from the perspective of somebody riding a bike that is near where I live. And I happened to run into a woman who was walking her dog. And I asked her, I said, look, I said, you know, one of the things on this list is to put a bicycle trail here, and it is a beautiful road. I just wanted to point
This
that out.
is a resource that we have, an asset in this town, people don't recognize.
Okay, if I could finish.
Yeah.
And I said, do you have any concerns? And she said the only concern she had was really, there's a campground there, clearly, and that the vehicles coming out of the campground, the campers and everything, treat the road like it's basically a one-lane road. It's a single lane. And so when we think about widening it, the bicycle lanes will be clearly marked with a line, right?
Correct.
I'm hoping that will be adequate to keep people, you know, aware of the fact that there's that lane and keep the bicyclists in those lanes. And that you don't need an additional stripe or something on the road to keep them from somehow going like this when they come around. There's a number of curves in the road. Again, it's a lovely road. I certainly intend to ride my horse up there. So, but it is a bit of a concern in terms of people coming out of there going a little bit too fast and having these bigger vehicles.
Hopefully this bike lanes would make it safer.
Hopefully the striping will make people more aware of where the boundaries are. And as long as your bicyclists are in those boundaries.
People have to learn what bike lanes are.
Well, people
If not, you
don't,
have to see them.
I will say, people don't always learn, but we can at least make sure that we've made it clear where they are.
Okay, Norm, anybody have any questions? Thank you very much.
Actually, I do.
Yes, sir.
So Robert Zulik, I live on Westford Hill Road. It's been in our family for 100 years. Nord, sorry, I'm gonna say this is a strong no on my part. Absolutely not. We do not need this on our road. The only road in the entire town that's going to get this is Westford Hill Road. And for those that aren't familiar, the word in the middle is hill. It's a pretty tall hill. So I don't see this as being a good thing at all. That's all I got to say.
Thanks, Robert.
Yep.
All right, any other comments? All right, seeing no other comments, I'm gonna take a brief 5-minute break. And then we will recommit for our town meeting portion.
Actually, can I say something, please?
No. Yeah.
Okay, for everybody who is at home, and you are attending this virtually, I need to see your face in order for you to vote. So, there are some people who've been popping in and out, like Bill Abacoff. Okay, I saw you. But everybody else, you need to turn your cameras on so you can be identified, okay? And when we get, so please do that now. Leave it on, say, for 5 or 10 minutes until we get back. And then we'll run through the list of who we are aware is here. And if we've missed you, you can let us know, okay? So put your cameras on right now, please, if you were at home.
Thank you. 5-minute break. For you folks that may not know, there's restrooms down in the end of the hall. Okay, folks. Going to call the town meeting portion of our meetings tonight here to order. And the first order of business is to choose a moderator for said meeting. The floor is open for nominations.
I nominate Bill Butter. Okay. I'm sorry, who nominated and who
Dennis,
nominated exactly was
Loretta,
correct.
are there any other nominations? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, what we're going to do, the next item is to vote on the individual items as we go down the list. And what we're gonna do is take a hand vote. We've got counters in the room here. And Sherry and Mike are gonna take care of the Zoom section of it. And hopefully that will go fairly smooth. If it doesn't, then we'll go to Plan B. But so anyway, at the appropriate time, when I call for a yay or nay, please raise your hands. Give us a minute or so to take a count, and then we'll move on to the next. I'm going to need a motion for each of the proposals. And are there any questions?
If I understand correctly.
Yes.
When the person goes to make the motion, they'll say their name and then they'll make the motion.
Correct.
And then anybody who seconds.
We'll
will
say their name and they.
Bill, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
It's Jeff. So this is basically yes or no, on or off is what we're doing here. There's no other movement. There's no other motion to change, revise the amounts or anything like that.
That's correct. And in consultation with our town council, if somebody wanted to make a motion because they didn't feel they had enough facts at hand or whatever, and they wanted to make a motion against the item that we'll be discussing, in hopes that it would be brought forward with more information, or whatever, the suggestion would be to make the motion and at the end of motion say without prejudice.
Without prejudice. Okay.
Just a point of order.
Yes.
If I understand correctly, Sherry, I'm gonna ask you, for a person to make a motion against something, isn't that kind of like doing a negative motion, and all motions should really be in the positive, and the person could say for just in a positive sense, and then people would vote accordingly.
Yeah, it sounds crazy, but motions have to be made in the affirmative, even if you're against it.
Yes.
So you have to avoid confusion. That's what Robert's Rules of Order.
So as to what Bill was just saying, when people go to make a motion on these,
It's got to be in the affirmative. That's not what council told me, but I'm willing to go
But
with
that
their
is-
expertise.
it is correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you've got your motion, your second, and then discussion, and then your vote.
Forget what I just said. Everybody understand that?
Well,
Okay.
we'll test drive it.
Okay, good.
Lauren Olson from Ashford, I make a motion to accept the pickleball tennis court repairs for $25,000.
Is there a second? Loretta seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your hands. The ladies have it. All opposed, please raise your hand. Seeing none, the motion passes. Thank you.
Excuse me?
Well, we probably have to consult, because you don't know what's happening on here.
I have
Oh,
12
we
yes.
will. I'm sorry, I looked.
Yeah, oh, okay.
I have 12 yes, and Karen has 11.
Okay,
So we'll just do the quick consult with each one.
okay, yes. It passes, yes.
Second item, Knowlton Hall installation of mini split units. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we install the mini splits in.
Loretta has made a motion.
I'll second.
Lauren seconds. Any discussion? All in favor signify, oh, excuse me, raise your hands. Yes.
Excellent. And well. I'm getting a table up here soon.
We got 24.
I have a technical question. We've got at least 10 people here at Ashford Housing who are all listening on the same computer. How can we handle our voting if we can't all get our faces in the computer at the same time?
We were just counting hands, but,
Okay, so if you can see our hands in the, like, 6 hands in the computer video, you'll count those?
yeah, just not like this.
Okay.
Have they all
Okay,
Can you,
checked in with
can
you?
you, Sandy, can you, direct your camera down a little bit? There we go, there we go, okay. Where's everybody else?
Over here.
Over
here. Over here. Yeah, we've got people all the way around this round table.
And those are all people who live here, right?
Yes.
All right.
Want to go through them one by one?
We didn't get all.
Just so you can see the faces?
Yeah, you know, can we take a quick check in with her?
We're gonna take a brief break while we verify your phone.
Oh, sorry.
There's me, Sandy LeBrecq.
Primus. For the taxable.
Wait, 1 second.
Very good.
Okay, your name again? No, I got Sandy. Who's next?
Joan Primus.
Okay, Joan.
Linda Hens.
I can't see what's
Oh,
on.
we got her, yes.
Elaine Whipple.
Did you hear that one?
First name again?
Elaine Whipple.
Elaine, gotcha. Yep,
John Whipple.
okay.
Connie Clark.
Hi, Connie.
Hi, Candy Clark. Linda Superaunt.
Brian Fletcher.
Were you
There.
able-
We got everybody?
Elaine Keble.
That's the last one.
Okay.
Bill, would you entertain a motion to amalgamate the remaining items into one question?
I inquired Bill if we could do that and I was advised no.
Too bad.
Yeah.
Figure pain.
Thank you.
You all set, Sherry?
Yes, if we have a close vote, then we'll have to do some more checking, but otherwise it's just fine.
Okay, we took a vote on the mini splits.
Yes, we did.
Did you guys verify that?
Yes,
Okay. And opposed to the mini splits? Raise your hands. No. Okay. Sherry?
I've seen none.
Okay. All right, motion passes. Thank you. Item C, Knowlton Hall installation of heat coils and stamped concrete.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Dennis seconded. There's a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your hand. You all set?
Yeah, I got my 12.
You said?
I got my 11.
Yeah. Got it. Yep, 24.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. Next item is upgrade to state supported mobile radio
I'll
system.
make a motion to accept that.
Lauren's made a motion.
Second.
Your name, sir? Dean Clark. Dean Clark. Seconded. There's a motion on the floor and been seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand.
Margaret Varga, where'd you go? Margaret, can you turn the camera on again? Oh, wait, she's over to the side in the dark. Margaret, get in the light, come to the light. There you go, thank you. Okay, yeah, so we got 24 again.
Did I call for the no votes?
No,
All opposed, raise your hand. None?
actually opposed call out. Probably better.
Motion passes. Next motion, upgrade the installation of mini split units at the fire department.
I'll make the motion to accept that.
Lauren makes motion, Karen seconds.
We skipped the Hearst tool.
Oh. All right. Does that stand for the Hearst tool too, Lauren? Karen?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor of appropriation for the Hearst tool, raise your hand. Nothing else, we're gonna get exercise.
I have my 12 again, I have 11.
Okay.
Angie, can you? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Bill.
Item F. Upgrade installation of mini splits at the fire department.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
There is a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Dennis seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, raise your hands.
You better ask Dennis.
You're also with the.
Yes, yes.
Any opposed, raise your hands. None.
Okay.
Next item, replacement and or addition to the Ashford Volunteer Fire Supply.
I mentioned to approve it, sorry.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear any of that.
You know, that's a primary tomorrow, I got him at 4 a.m.
Right, so I got Loretta for the motion.
I'll second it.
Usually I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hands.
I don't think I see everybody's hand up, so, okay. So okay. Is that's what they're doing? Okay, got it, thank you.
Motion passes. Oh, excuse me. Are there any no's? No no's?
No, there's some people who just are choosing not to raise a hand either way,
Okay.
which is,
I don't
We
blame
abstain.
you.
Abstain.
yes.
All right, town office building, installation of the handicap access.
Motion, second. Go ahead, Lauren.
I'm sorry.
Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands.
Have my things 12.
Okay.
Are there any no's? Motion passes. Thank you. Next item, town office building, interior.
I'll make a motion to.
Okay, can we at least hear hear the motion just to make sure? Because I think we missed one.
Town office building, interior, exterior lighting upgrades in the amount not to exceed 36,500. There a motion?
I make a motion.
Lauren,
Second.
Loretta second. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. You guys raising your hands on this one?
Yes. I see all those hands, Sandy, thank you.
I'm just waiting for one more. Right, oh, got them all.
Did we skip one, guys?
Sure, did we skip one?
No.
I want to be
No,
sure on
yeah.
the medical equipment.
Yeah.
For the.
Yeah.
We have.
We're just double checking.
All right, next item, 2023 school bus.
I'll make a motion. Oh, second. I'll make the motion to approve. I'll second.
Loretta seconds, any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. We're getting there, folks.
Looks good, looks good, yeah.
Are there any no's? Motion passes. Item K, electric vehicle charging station in the amount not to exceed 20,000.
Loretta made a motion, I'll second.
There's a motion been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, signify by, raise your right hand, sorry. Or left hand, whichever hand you like. Just don't raise them both.
Yes,
I have 11 yes, I have 8 yes.
and 22.
All opposed?
Three.
Three.
Yeah. We've got 2.
Motion passes. Thank you. DPW Ashford School gasoline dispenser in the amount not to exceed 17,000.
I'll make a motion to approve it, I think it's a no-brainer. I second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand.
That's my fault. I have 11.
Yeah, you should still ask for.
Are there any no's? Raise your hand. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Social Service Department appropriation for family support.
No, transfer station.
Oh, sorry. Geez, I skipped 2. Transfer station installation of fencing and gate in the amount not to exceed.
I second.
There's a motion on the floor that's been made and seconded. All in favor, raise your hand.
That's 11.
Okay, that's good, got everybody.
Any opposed? Raise your hand. Motion passes. Ashford Memorial Park installation of safety fencing in the amount not to exceed $8,500.
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
There's a motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your hand.
Have 12. I have 11.
You've got 10 hands at Ashford Housing on every every vote.
Yes, yeah, that's what we're seeing. Okay, we're good on the yes votes. You better check the no on this one.
Are there any no votes? Please raise your hands.
Okay. Yeah.
None?
Yeah.
Motion passes. Thank you. Northeast Connecticut Council of Government.
No,
Social service.
Social service appropriation for family support in the amount not to exceed
I'll make a
20,000.
motion to support that.
There's a motion made by Lauren, seconded by Loretta. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand.
I have my 12. I have 11.
Some people are using other signs. Okay,
I hope
okay,
it's not
this
the-
one's good.
Okay.
The motion passes. Thank you. Text my gov.
No.
Jesus. Northeast Connecticut Council of Governments.
Yep.
I have a motion to approve. I second.
Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hands.
I have my 12. I have 11.
Keep your hands up if you're voting yes at home. Okay, yeah, all right. All right, you better do a no vote.
All opposed, raise your hands.
Yeah. All right, we're good, thank you.
Okay.
Your 2 no's.
Next item, Housing Authority rental
No, text my gov.
Text my gov.
text my gov.
I have a question.
been a long day.
Loretta seconded it, Sherry. If you're gonna have discussion, I just wanna say one thing. So 2 years ago, we had a primary, but we had a storm right before then. And we had to remove our polling place. We had no way to contact everybody within 1 day. This would be a way that we can contact you, should we have to move the polling place. So I would encourage you all to vote yes.
All in favor, raise your hands. Touch 12.
Yep, we got,
Yeah, I
yeah.
got it.
Motion passes. Thank you. Next item, Housing Authority rental subsidy, $25,100.
I'll second. Yes, for the hearing.
Steve? Is there any discussion? We have a motion that's been made and seconded on the floor.
I just want to say, I think that they have a really good plan started and thought through, and I think it's imperative that we support our seniors, and so I advocate that everybody vote for it.
Thank you. Any more discussions? All in favor, raise your hands.
Got my phone. Can I get a button? You know, keep your hands up because I'm not seeing all of them up, so I want to make sure I'm counting right.
I heard them.
Ah, thank you. Okay, got it now.
Are there any opposed? Raise your hands. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Ashford Housing Authority Development Corp., seed money,
I'll second.
$20,000. Loretta made the motion. Lauren seconded. Are there any questions or comments?
Yes, I do, Bill. Jeff Silversmith. I would like to amend the motion to increase the money to $30,000 for this process.
I don't think you can do that.
I have been advised by council that we can't do that at this stage, Chair.
Then what can we do? Can I make a motion to not accept and without prejudice?
No,
There's already a motion on the floor.
that's a negative. There's already a motion on the floor, Jeff.
I mean, if we were allowed to amend it, I would move to amend my vote. Would you make the motion? So I can't.
I had inquired whether we could do that with increasing or decreasing. I was advised we can't because that's what we're supposed to.
So the number that the selectmen came up with was the be all and end all, and input at the selectmen's meeting would have been our only option.
Well, the selectmen verified the request by the housing authority. They came up with the number.
Right.
But they
I
can
think-
ask for more money. There's money left.
If I could add something to this.
So, okay.
If I understand, when you were describing how the seed money would work in the 401(c)(3), you'll be getting back some of the money through, I'm gonna say subsidies or grants or whatever. But there's nothing that precludes us in the future from looking at what is needed in that area. And as long as it is a separate thing that can be voted on, you don't vote on the same thing twice, okay? Then they could come back for additional monies for the purpose of making it more robust if needed.
Is that out of the ARPA funds or is that out of future tax funds?
They could come back and ask for ARPA funds. I think the selectmen would look at it and figure out where it fit.
Just historically, this community has consistently supported our housing unit and our elderly. It's been a number of years, although this time they didn't come to us for the entire amount, where we waived our pilot program because of their situation and fighting the ever decreasing funding from the state. So I'm sure that if it turns out the seed money is not appropriate or they need additional funding, the Board of Selectmen will be happy to entertain a request.
I'd like to see something else if you don't mind. So this is kind of just an aside, but I don't think we in Ashford take very good care of the properties that we own. This building hasn't been painted, there's cracks in the walls, the other building's not taken care of. Senior housing is not taken care of. It's more expensive to tear down and build a new building that take care of it. So I fully support that, and I hope that all of you then come back when I say, hey, my office upstairs has water in it. We shouldn't be doing that after we spend all this money on our buildings. We have to take care of our buildings, or we're gonna spend more in the long run. That's my opinion.
Lauren,
I think that, you know,
is your roof leaking?
there's not leaking,
Oh,
the whole, there's
okay.
like the house, the floor, the.
Oh, okay, because let the first selectman know if you're
No,
leaking.
I'm not gonna excuse, like, the whole have to- It's about the care of our building,
Right.
taking care of who we are and what we own.
Deferring maintenance is nothing. With
Nothing worse.
That one, Lauren, thank you. I appreciate your input. My point really was, and it goes back to the planning and zoning and the affordable housing section of the Development Corporation and seed money. And again, it's at the present time, the budget for planning and zoning or anything given toward becoming, what's the word I'm looking for? Meeting the requirements and the guidelines of the state, there really aren't funds there. And anything the housing authority can do to help move that along, especially when we have a plan that's due now and a plan that needs to be updated on a regular basis. Mike, is it every 5 years?
Yes.
Thank you. A plan that needs to be updated every 5 years, and again, is very important to the state and to the central government of the state for affordable housing. So, but if we have the opportunity to go back and gain these funds, then that's great. I'm all for that. And I would support this at this time.
Given the lateness of the evening, I'm going to call the question. All in favor, we have a motion on the floor. It's been made and seconded. All in favor of the motion, raise your hands.
I have my 12, I have 11.
Well, sit here.
Any opposed, raise your hands. Fine. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Broadband build out, amount not to exceed 60,000. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Loretta made a motion. Is
I'll
there-
second.
Lauren seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your hands.
Okay, we're good. That's unanimous.
No,
Are there any?
No, sorry, did we do no?
we had one, at least one.
There's two.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I think you said
Oh.
unanimous.
Oh, we were. I think we were.
No, I have two that didn't vote yes.
So, yes, got it, got it.
Is there,
Nays?
is there any nays? Please raise your hand. Okay. Motion passes. Thank you, folks. Last item is development of bike lanes for the amount of $15,000.
I make a motion. I'll second.
There's a motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a question. Again, for clarification, is this for a study or is it for actually going and changing the road?
This would come nowhere near the cost that would be incurred for chasing the road. This is my understanding, Catherine. Again, it's for engineering.
So engineering, and part of that will be also looking at safety aspects?
Correct.
And is this only for Westford Road?
Yes.
Right now, we're talking about Westford Hill Road. Judy?
For this bike lane, it's 2 feet on each side, it's on, somebody's property.
No, it's within the town's right away. Without engineering, that's what I'm advised. I haven't seen anything in an actual plan drawing yet. And this would only become effective if state grants or federal grants were allocated. Any more discussions or questions?
The only other thing I would add about Westford Hill Road is that we've had planning and zoning be approached numerous times about the number of trucks and traffic coming down there. All too frequently, it's actually identified on GPS as a shortcut through 89. So again, part of that engineering study would need to look at that truck traffic going through there.
Are there any other comments? Judy?
If this was to go into place and you put bike lanes, who's liable for any accidents that happen?
I actually can't hear you.
Prior, if there's.
Are we responsible
Why-
for accidents?
The question was,
Well, that would be the liability piece. That's what I'm saying.
it would be the same as if you were in your car involved in an accident.
Made the bike lane.
Well, you know as well as I do, if there's an accident and there's deep pockets, you're gonna have somebody sue everybody and their brother.
One more question.
Yes,
Why are we looking at Westfield and not Fairview?
well, the proposal that was brought to me that we were talking about was working through federal grants to do a bus, bike lanes, basically coming up from Mansfield on Route 89, following up and connecting up in Union. And our aspect of that connection would be Westford Hill Road. And its location to the school and close proximity to the school.
So Bill, was that proposal from 2014?
I don't remember.
That's the
date.
background I received. I got a copy of the map.
I know, it's-
And the proposal was when Sam Belcito was in office. And what he had said was you'd have to have all three towns in agreement to have something that went that far. And that you'd have to have the state in agreement, and there's a couple of different departments in the state. Just in terms of looking at the whole picture
oh,
of what's
it's a
envisioned.
compromise. This is just a minute piece of that.
Yeah, and this was, if I understand correctly, like an alternate route. Is that correct? Marked as an alternate route on that.
Actually, yeah, it's a scenic route. But part of the trail that connects the two state parks, Bigelow Hollow and Mansfield Hollow. There is an issue with that, in that it bypasses the school.
Yeah,
And I would like to see bike lanes that go to the school. I would be in favor of that better.
Robert?
The key word is bypass. I mean, we get the bypass every Wednesday when people bypass the highways in order to move their trash down the streets, and I get to pick up some of that trash. That happens on Saturdays and Sundays. We get to have the bypass when people are coming off the highways to go to Briley Campground, starting in April and going all the way until November. And we do that mainly on Fridays, because they all start streaming in and taking up the road, and same thing on Sundays. And to add to this, putting on vehicles, bicycles, I think is unsafe, it's dangerous. I know the right times to go out in terms of doing stuff like that. But I don't know if that's necessarily the case. Plus, on top of that, with Briley, they also have the ability to, now, if you start opening up a bike lane, taking their golf carts and riding them up and down the roadway. And there was just recently a fatality, not in the state, but in another state, with children driving down the street with doing stuff like that. I would recommend that we just say no, right from the get-go.
Is there any other comments or questions? Seeing none? All in favor?
Yeah, I just want to state that, Bob, thank you, but this is just about a study to get this done. This is not simply voting on whether we're going to do this or not. It's really a study to see the safety, the viability, the cost, and all of those things.
And I don't want those wheels to start in motion.
Understood.
I think we're clear. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hands. Opposed? Oh, wait, sorry.
No, keep your hands up, please, on the people who are virtual, please keep your hands up.
Lauren, you have your count?
yeah, 5.
13.
You're all set.
I have 13.
Opposed, raise your hands.
Raise them high, please, and keep them up so we can get this right. Yeah, I've got 5 notes.
I have 7. I have 6.
All right, so together, what do we got here?
13 now. 13 now.
I lost track of what the yeses were. Would you?
I had one year. Oh, wait, I have wrote it down. I had 5 yeses.
13. Okay, so that's 19 yeses. And how many no's did you guys have?
I had 6.
Lauren?
And she,
I forgot, sorry.
13, wasn't
Yeah, we had 13.
I think you guys had 13 in total. That was 6 and 7.
5, 6, 7, I have 7.
Okay, so that's a 13. Okay, so that's, and we have 5. Good boy. We have 19 yeses and 18 no's.
Are we sure that tally is correct?
Why don't we take the tally again?
That's absolutely fine.
How many people do we have in total?
Oh, whoa. Sandy LeBrecq. They're all leaving.
Yes.
Tell them to stay.
We were just going to confirm the vote. Can they come back?
Sure.
We can.
We can.
Yes.
Because it's really close, so we want to.
Yeah, pretty much nobody voted here.
Nobody. voted.
Yes or no?
That's all that matters.
All right, do you want that vote to stand then?
They're all abstentions.
I'm gonna, just for clarification, I'm gonna call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, raise your hands. You guys have it?
I have 12.
I have 2 yeses. I have 5, so not everybody voted the same as.
That's, I'm giving them, that's their problem. So we have a total. So you folks have a total of 7, right?
I had 5, yeah. I had
2. So,
I had 7 no.
So we're 19. Yes, okay, we've 19 yeses. Again, okay, now let's do.
All opposed, raise your hands.
I have 7.
No.
That we are.
I now have 8.
And I have.
I now have 8.
Okay, is that a total of 12 in the room?
I had 8, maybe 6. That's 14 in the room.
Maybe 6 total?
There's 14 there.
Yeah, I hate to say this, but could you people who are virtual, please raise your hands again for the no's? It's like a moving target. Okay, so we have 5, and you guys, how many did you have?
I had 6.
For the nose,
And what I had just now?
I had 7. I think
8 you have.
you had 8.
You had
14.
You had 14 in total in the room.
Oh, that's worse. We've 19 and 19.
Okay.
Wow. I lose.
Oh, wait,
Well,
if it's
that's-
19 and 19, it means the motion fails.
Correct.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
All right, folks. Well, thank you very much for your participation in that. We're gonna go on to the next items. Approval of the conveyance by the town of Ashford of the former roadbed of Grant Roads to Paul E. Belanger and Pamela B. Belanger, trustees of Paul E. Belanger Trust, and to accept the conveyance to the town of the current roadbed of Grant Road from Paul E. Belanger and Pamela B. Belanger, trustees of the Paul E. Belanger Trust, to reflect that prior relocation of said roadway.
I'll make a motion to accept. One second.
Paul, do you just want to give some background?
There is a motion and a second motion, you know.
So we can
Me and
clarify.
Sometime in the 1940s. I was knee-high to a grasshopper, as they say. My father and John Bardock Senior decided to improve Grant Road, and that would include, it was a very sharp corner, which I can show you on the map here. And it also happened to be a swamp where the cars got stuck all the time. So on a handshake, Boomer, you take that, Tom will take that. And that was it. And as I'm trying to get my estate ready for my kids, I thought I'd try and get this straightened out, so there's no question as to what it is. I still occasionally, every other year or so, pull an Eversource truck out of that swamp. And there's a hole right in the corner there, and they get stuck fairly regularly. So it's not a great piece of land. I just want to get across all my T's, you know. So, any questions?
So earlier, Paul, I said 50 years. It's been longer than that.
Yeah.
We really appreciate your patience.
Well, I started a couple times, and then Agent Arms came to visit me.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or further discussion? The motion on the floor. Yes, sir.
Is that a private property?
Pardon?
Yeah, so what is town is doing with this?
Just that it was never transferred. In other words, the town put the road on our property. And just on a handshake, it was never legally done. We swapped the land.
They never recorded a deed.
Right.
So there's a map that's filed, but they never recorded deeds to do
This
that.
is just to formalize from a legal perspective, the transfer. It happened many, many years ago. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor of the motion, please raise your hands.
unanimous, no one.
Yeah. This end as well.
Are there any opposed? That'd be hard if everybody voted
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Paul.
Well. Oh, okay, she was just sloppy.
Okay,
Okay.
we're going to move on. Thank you. The motion passed. Item 4. Approval of the allocation of $100,000 as recommended by the Board of Finance and Board of Selectmen to represent a municipal match of funds to enhance the town's application for $500,000 in small town economic assistance program, better known as the STEEP grant, funding for the reconstruction and paving of Southward Drive.
I'll second.
There's a motion on the floor and seconding. This is a situation of Southward Drive enhancements and repaving has been deferred for several years, primarily for economic reasons. The road is deteriorating to a point that it's time to move on it. We've got an opportunity to apply for this $500,000 grant if we match it with $100,000 from town funds. If for some reason the grant is not approved, the town will not be spending $100,000 on that, and we'll have to reconsider it this coming year in our capital improvement plan and pick up the entire cost. The entire cost right now are in the area of $638,000. We've got supplies up at the transfer station in the form of new storm drains and that sort of stuff, the grates and that, to make up the difference. So I highly recommend that we take this opportunity to apply for these funds.
The no-brainer. We vote yes. Last year, when we had all this terrible rain, besides the road was completely washed away, and around the back of the loop was just an absolute disaster. So we really need to build that.
We've reached a situation there where we really don't have any time to defer any longer, because what happens is with the cracking and the freezing and the thawing and the refreezing, we're going to end up losing that road bed and have to do the entire project, which would probably cost us double or triple what we're looking at right now. I've seen it happen on Bicknell Road. my first term as first selectman, we lost the entire road. We had to do all drainage, all subgrades and everything else, and it's time to move on. Any other questions or comments? All in favor, signify by raising your hands.
Unanimous in the building.
Better have a no. This has.
All opposed?
I guess there's an extension. Okay.
Okay.
And so motion passes. Thank you very much. Well, before we adjourn, I just want to thank you all for coming and your participating in this very important community function. And this is a broad span of helping various parts of our town and our residents. I just want to answer one question though, because I had a few people ask me about the bump on my head. And I just wanted, the rumor that Chris did it or my wife is not true. Catherine did it. No, no, she didn't. I had a fall last
I admit
month
it.
and I'm still recuperating. But thank you very much for coming. I will take a motion for adjournment. Lauren, Loretta,
Second, all in favor, aye, aye.
have a good evening.
I didn't